I never thought I'd be the guy posting something like this, but here I am. My name's Mark, and I've been with my wife Emily for about 6 years now. We seemed solid, normal, a lot of the typical stuff. We got married pretty young. I was 28, she was 26. Honestly, I thought we were happy. Well, I thought we were happy until recently, when I started noticing little things that didn't add up. At first, it was just small stuff. She was more secretive on her phone, disappearing into the bathroom for longer than usual, giving me these weird, tight-lipped smiles when I asked what she was doing. She'd get defensive fast, say I was overthinking, that I was paranoid. But I wasn't paranoid. I could feel it. Something was off, and I could tell she was hiding something. Still, I didn't want to jump to conclusions, so I kept my cool. Then came the signs that made me realize I was right to be suspicious. She started changing her schedule without telling me, claiming she was working late, but I'd see her car parked down the road when I drove by her office late at night. She started dressing differently, more provocative, which I initially thought was just her trying to spice things up. But then I saw her with her phone out, texting someone aggressively, quick messages, then she'd hide her phone whenever I looked her way. The gut feeling was gnawing at me, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. One night I came home early from work. I decided to surprise her. She'd been acting weird lately, and I thought maybe I'd catch her doing something. I walked into the house, and the second I stepped through the door, I heard her laugh, not the innocent kind, but a flirtatious, overly familiar laugh. I froze. My heart started pounding. I peeked into the bedroom and saw her on the bed, fully dressed, but her phone was on her lap. I saw the messages. I saw the texts from her friend, Jake, that weren't just friendly. They were explicit. She was cheating on me, and not just with anyone, with my best friend. My stomach dropped. I felt this surge of rage and betrayal so intense it was almost physical. How could she? Right after I had just found out I was pregnant. Yeah, I said it. We had been trying for a baby for a while, and when it finally happened, I was over the moon. Emily, on the other hand, seemed distant, distracted. Turns out she already had her eye on Jake. I don't know how I missed it for so long, or maybe I didn't want to see. I took a step back, took a deep breath, and then I just stared at her. She saw me, froze, and tried to cover her phone. Her face turned red, then white. I demanded she explain. Her reaction. She spun some bullshit about how I was overreacting, how she and Jake were just friends, and that I was reading too much into it. That she was tired, stressed, and that I was imagining things. That she loved me but needed a little fun. A little excitement because I'd been so busy with work and the pregnancy. I looked her in the eyes and told her I wasn't stupid. I knew she was lying. She tried to deny it, then got bitchy, saying I was accusing her of things I didn't understand, that I was paranoid and insecure. She told me I was overreacting, that I was crazy, but I knew better. I felt this cold, hard knot in my stomach, and I knew I had to do something. I needed to figure out what to do next. The betrayal cut deep, and the shock of it all made me question everything about our life together. How did I miss all the signs? How could she be so manipulative? I thought I knew her, but clearly I was blind. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything, her laugh, her face, the texts. I was furious, humiliated, broken. I didn't want to believe the woman I loved and trusted had been sneaking around with someone I called my best friend. But deep down, I knew this was just the beginning. Things would never go back to how they were. And now I had to decide how to handle this mess. After that night, everything changed. I couldn't focus at work, I couldn't eat, and every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, that stupid smirk she had when she was lying. I kept asking myself how I could have been so blind. She always acted like she loved me, like I was her world. Turns out I was just a backup plan while she was out having her fun with Jake, my best friend. The betrayal was so raw, it was like a punch to the gut every single time I thought about it. The next day I decided I had to confront her again, but this time I was prepared. I went through her phone. I needed proof, something concrete, before I said anything. I didn't trust her to be honest, even if she was trying to spin her lies again. I found more messages, flirty, suggestive, borderline explicit. She was talking about meeting Jake again, making plans to see him after I left for work. She was lying about everything, about how she was just confused, or stressed, or not used to being pregnant. Yeah, she said she was stressed, but I knew better now. When I called her out on it, she flipped. She said I was paranoid, that I was blowing things out of proportion, that I was crazy for accusing her of cheating. She told me I was insecure and that I needed therapy, that I was just jealous because I wasn't paying enough attention to her. But I wasn't jealous. I was hurt, deeply hurt, that she'd do this to me right after I told her I was pregnant, that she'd betray me and the one person who was trying to do right by her. I remember getting so mad I could barely speak. I told her she was a manipulative bitch, that she was playing me for a fool, and that I never thought she'd do something so horrible. She just sat there looking at me with this sneer, like she was enjoying the power she had over me. She denied everything, said I was making up stories, that Jake and I had misunderstood, that she was just tired and overwhelmed. But I knew better. Those texts didn't lie. That evening I went for a walk to clear my head. I couldn't believe the person I trusted most in the world had been lying to me this whole time. It was like the ground was shifting beneath my feet. I felt betrayed, angry, broken. The only thing I kept telling myself was that I deserved better than her, more honesty, more respect. But that feeling didn't come with relief, it just made me more furious. How could she be so manipulative, so selfish? How could she throw away everything we built for some stupid affair? I started thinking about what comes next. Do I leave? Do I fight for her? Do I try to save the marriage? The truth is, I didn't have an answer yet. All I knew was that I wasn't going to let her walk all over me anymore. I needed time to think, to figure out what I really wanted and how I was going to handle this mess she made. The worst part, knowing that no matter what I decided, my life would never be the same again. Over the next few days, I sank into this weird fog. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, and every time I tried to talk to her, she'd brush me off or get bitchy. She kept insisting that I was overreacting, that I was crazy for jumping to conclusions, and that I needed to trust her. Trust her, after what I found. Yeah, right, trust is gone. It's shattered into pieces, just like my heart. But I wasn't about to let her manipulate me anymore. I started doing my own digging, calling some of her friends, trying to piece together what I missed. Turns out she'd been sneaking around for a while, long before I even suspected. She'd been texting Jake for months, making plans to meet him late at night, and even lying about being at work when she was out with him. One of her friends even told me she saw her sneaking out of her own apartment late at night, looking guilty as hell. At first, I was a mess. I wanted to scream, cry, punch something. I felt like the biggest idiot alive. How did I miss all these signs? How did I let her lie to my face for so long? It was like she'd been playing me from the start, all while I was trying to build a future with her. The fact that I was about to become a father made it even worse. I kept thinking about our baby. What kind of mother cheats so blatantly while she's pregnant? How could I raise a kid with someone who's so manipulative and selfish? I remember sitting alone in my apartment, staring at the wall, feeling numb. That's when I decided I had enough. I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. I had to confront her again, but this time, I wanted her to finally admit everything, to own her lies. I wanted her to face the fact that she was a liar, a cheater, a manipulative bitch who didn't care about me or our baby. So, I set a time to meet her face to face. I told her I was done playing her games, that I knew everything, and I wanted her to tell me the truth. She tried to deny it again, spinning her usual bullshit about how I was crazy, jealous, or paranoid. But I didn't buy it. I pulled out the receipts, the texts, everything I'd uncovered. Her face turned pale. She stammered, then started crying, fake tears, I thought, trying to make me feel guilty. But I was beyond guilt at that point. I was just furious. I told her she was a snake, that I didn't want someone like her in my life, especially not when I was about to become a father. I knew I had to make a choice. Stay and be a part of her manipulative nightmare, or walk away and protect what little dignity I had left. Honestly, I felt like the biggest sucker in the world for trusting her at all. She'd lied to me for months, cheated on me with my best friend, and now she's crying like it's all just some mistake. I saw right through her act. That was the moment I realized I couldn't let her ruin me. I left that night feeling numb, like I'd been hit by a truck. I knew I'd have to face the consequences, whatever they were. I started packing some of my stuff, preparing to leave, because I wasn't going to stay in a toxic, manipulative mess like that. I kept thinking, What did I do wrong? But deep down, I knew it wasn't about me. It was about her choosing someone else over her own integrity, over her own family. Now I'm just trying to keep my head clear and figure out what's best for me and my baby. I don't know if we'll ever be able to recover from this, but I do know I deserve better. I deserve honesty, respect, and someone who values me. I'm not perfect, but I refuse to be someone's punching bag or their secret. That's what I've learned so far. Trust is fragile, and once it's broken, it's almost impossible to fix. But I'm done waiting for her to decide if I'm worth anything. I've got to do what's right for me now. The days that followed were a blur of chaos and clarity. I moved out of the apartment, took most of my belongings and found a place nearby, just so I could be close enough to see the truth clearly. Every time I thought about her, about Jake, I felt this boiling rage, but underneath that was this deep, gnawing sadness. I loved her. I really did. But love doesn't mean blindly accepting betrayal and manipulation. It just doesn't. I started seeing a counselor to get my head straight. Honestly, I needed someone who could help me process all the lies, the anger, and the heartbreak. I kept asking myself how I could have been so stupid to trust her, how I could have let her manipulate me into thinking I was crazy. But deep down, I knew it wasn't about stupidity. It was about being in love and wanting to believe the best in someone, even when the signs were screaming at me to wake up. Meanwhile, Emily kept trying to reach me, texting incessantly. She was still playing that victim card, saying I was overreacting, that I was crazy, that she loved me and was just confused. She spun stories about how stressed she was with the pregnancy and that I was pushing her away. But I wasn't buying it anymore. Her words just made me more angry. I could see her for what she was, a manipulative, lying bitch who thought she could get away with anything. Honestly, I started to realize that the Emily I fell in love with was long gone, replaced by someone I didn't even recognize anymore. One day, I decided to talk to Jake. I know that sounds petty, but I needed to hear it from him directly. What the hell he was doing with my wife behind my back. Turns out, he thought I was naive, that I was too busy with work and the pregnancy to notice. He admitted they'd been seeing each other for months, that it started out just as flirting at first, but then it got serious. He even said he felt guilty but didn't know how to end it, because she made him feel alive again. That's what really hurt, how she made herself out to be the victim, how she manipulated both of us into believing she was innocent. Hearing that, I felt like I was drowning. I couldn't believe I'd been played for a fool. All those nights I stayed up worrying about her, all those times I put her first and she was out screwing my best friend, laughing in my face. It was like a punch in the stomach every single time. I kept asking myself how she could be so manipulative, so cold. And the worst part, I still loved her even after everything. That's what drove me crazy the most, how I still wanted to believe she'd change, that maybe things could go back to how they were. But I knew deep down that wasn't happening. Not after all this. I had to accept that I was just a pawn in her game, someone she used to get what she wanted, and now she was throwing me away like trash. The betrayal cut so deep I wondered if I'd ever trust anyone again. I'd been naive, I'd trusted her, and I'd believed in us. Now, I had to rebuild my life from scratch, and honestly, I didn't even know where to start. The emotional toll was enormous. I felt angry, sad, betrayed, and confused all at once. I kept asking myself whether I should keep fighting for her or just walk away for good. The truth is, part of me still hoped she'd come clean, admit everything, and own up to what she did. But I knew that was a pipe dream. She was too good at lying, too manipulative, and I was tired of being a fool. I had a baby on the way, and I had to be strong for that kid if nothing else. So I made a decision. I'd file for divorce, not out of anger alone, but because I realized I deserved someone who didn't play games, someone who was honest and real. I'd rather start over alone than be with someone who manipulates my feelings and betrays my trust. It's not the ending I imagined, but I guess sometimes life throws you these brutal lessons. All I can do now is focus on healing, protecting my future, and making sure that my kid sees what real love and respect look like. The process of moving on wasn't easy. I won't sugarcoat it. Every day I felt like I was walking through a minefield. Sometimes I'd wake up feeling okay, then suddenly I'd be hit with this wave of rage or despair out of nowhere. It was like I was grieving for something I thought I had, my marriage, my future, my trust. But I knew I had no choice but to keep pushing forward. I had a kid on the way, and that meant I had to be stronger than my hurt. I started focusing on myself more than ever before. I hit the gym hard, trying to channel all that anger into something productive. I worked on my career, threw myself into projects I'd been neglecting. I didn't want to be that guy who just lay in bed feeling sorry for himself. I knew I had to rebuild my life, piece by piece, no matter how hard it was. One thing I wasn't prepared for was how much her words and actions still haunted me. She kept texting, begging me to come back, claiming she'd changed, that she loved me. She even threw in the classic line about how she sorry and didn't mean to hurt me. But I wasn't buying it anymore. Sorry doesn't fix months of betrayal. Sorry doesn't erase the fact that she cheated on me with my best friend. I was done being naive. I also cut off contact with Jake. I didn't want to see him or hear his excuses. Honestly, the betrayal was so deep that I knew I'd never trust either of them again. I started hanging out with friends, trying to surround myself with people who cared about me, who could help me heal. I had no room in my life for liars or manipulators anymore. I realized I had been so caught up in the idea of us that I ignored all the red flags. Throughout all this, I kept reflecting on what I'd learned. Trust is fragile, love is precious, and people will surprise you in ways you never expected, usually for the worse. I learned that betrayal cuts deep, and sometimes you have to accept that the person you loved isn't who you thought they were. I also learned that it's okay to feel broken for a bit, because healing takes time. But mostly, I learned that I'm stronger than I thought. I've been through hell, but I'm still standing. Now I'm focusing on my future. I want to be a good dad. I want to show my kid what real love and respect look like. I want to rebuild my life with honesty and integrity, and I refuse to let her lies define me. I guess I'm sharing this because maybe someone else out there needs to hear it. You don't have to stay in a toxic, manipulative relationship. You deserve better. You're worth more than the lies someone tells you, no matter how much you love them. Sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away, even if it hurts. And honestly, it feels a little liberating, like I've taken back some control. Yeah, I'm still healing. Yeah, I'm still angry. But I know one thing for sure. I will come out of this stronger, and I will never let someone manipulate and betray me like that again. That's the lesson I'll carry with me forever. Now, looking back, I realize I've learned a lot about myself through all this chaos. I used to think love was enough to hold everything together, but I see now that love needs honesty, respect, and boundaries. Without those, it's just a house of cards waiting to fall. And fall it did spectacularly. Still, I don't regret the pain because it opened my eyes. It forced me to see the truth about her. Not that I needed convincing after finding her lying and cheating right in front of my face. The biggest lesson, I guess, is that trust is earned every single day. It's not something you give freely, and once it's broken, it's difficult to repair, or even worth the effort. I used to believe in the fairy tale, the idea that love conquers all. But now I know that real strength comes from knowing your worth and refusing to accept lies and manipulation from anyone, no matter how much they pretend to be in love. For anyone who's going through something similar, I want to say this. Don't let anyone make you feel crazy for seeing the truth. Don't stay because you're afraid of being alone or because you think you can't do better. You can. You absolutely can. It's painful, yes. It's humiliating and it's heartbreaking to realize someone you trusted has been lying to your face. But you are stronger than their lies. You are worth more than their manipulation. As I sit here now, I finally feel a shift inside me. I'm not the same man I was a few weeks ago. I've lost a lot, but I've gained clarity. I've gained respect for myself. Most importantly, I've gained hope. Hope that life does get better after betrayal, after heartbreak. That I can still find happiness and peace, even if it takes time. I've decided to focus on my future, my child, and the kind of man I want to be. I don't know what's next, and honestly, I don't care. What I know is that I'm done chasing after someone who manipulates and lies. I'm done living in the shadow of betrayal. From now on, I'm going to rebuild myself, step by step, with honesty and integrity. And I hope anyone reading this who's been betrayed like me can find the strength to do the same. Because at the end of the day, you deserve a life filled with trust, love, and truth, and nothing less.